And welcome back to part 22 of Final Fantasy 15. Today we're going to start the second chunk of side questing. We did some earlier in the Let's Play and now we've got a second binge because this is the last chance you get. The next thing we do in the plot will advance us to a point where we won't be able to return to the overworld until we finish the main plot.
Just like you ordered.
So yeah, I changed the skin of the car to represent something a bit different, changed it up a bit since the Terror Battle event is still going on. Or Terror Wars. For some reason Nox decides to jump that instead of accepting the side quest. Essentially today we're doing a few bits for Cindy to show off that you can upgrade the car, and then afterwards we're tackling the Royal Tombs. There's a Royal Tomb this part, and then next part is Costelmark Tower, the dreaded Costelmark Tower that I've been alluding, hinting and heavily pushing at for the whole Let's Play as being the place I dread. The place I was not looking forward to because of the level recommendation being higher than the final boss. But today we're not doing that one, so we're doing a few bits for Cindy right at the start, which shouldn't take that long, but then afterwards we're going to a dungeon called the Merlewood, which is to the left of the Vesperpool. If instead of going counterclockwise around it, if you go clockwise around it, you'll find the Merlewood.
You sure?
It is our car.
I tell you what, you got a point there. Well, if y'all
And is this the only real main side quest that isn't Royal Tomb we're going to really be doing for this chunk? There's a lot of side quests that I want to do, but it's like, I was looking at what my level is, especially after Costelmark Tower when we do that. I look at what my level is and go, no, if I start messing around with more side quests, I'm going to go over.
So we're supposed to venture out into the wild, find the wax, and bring it back.
Yeah, essentially. So what I do is, we've got this part, the next part's Costelmark, and the part after that is final cleanup essentially. And then part 25, we're back on the plot, and we'll continue on the plot until the game finishes. Also, because I passed by it, the Terror Wars event lights up. I don't know when that event ends, so make the most of it if you haven't already. But anyway, we need to head over there, and I think I cut Hill over there. Yeah, I do. On the way there, we find that there's someone who's got stuck here, so we go and try and find them. In random spots in the map, when you go past it, you'll hear someone call for help. If you look around, you can eventually find them. Essentially, they're just injured and can't get back up, so you need a potion with you.
Thank you so much.
Heal them up and they'll get on their way.
All in a day's work.
See? You don't get much experience for them because it's similar to the car, where you just need a repair kit on you. You're literally just going to a spot, clicking on them and saying A-OK. It's really not the end of the world. And there is also a fort. You see, I just lit up on my objectives. There's a fort to the top of the map on this region that we'll be doing on part 24, I believe. I think we tackle that then. Which is an interesting one because now I've been going through the game again. I didn't realise that in that fort, the returning to like minor villains come back in that. Because you have Loki, which we fought at the end of chapter 2 in the big mech. And then you have the, I forget his name, but the Chancellor dude. Not Arden, the one that we attempted to kidnap in the second infiltration mission that eventually escaped, unfortunately, during our fight with Aranea.
Should be. Let's start looking.
Anyway, through this little side tunnel, in the middle of it is what you need, the wax that you need so you can upgrade the car. You can enter it from both sides, which is why it's in the middle, so once you get it, you can carry on if you want to see if there's a few extra little items before the end, but don't expect it. This is a very low level area that you can really go into at any time, so there's nothing special here. It's just you might not have a reason to go here until you go for this objective. Which we could have done, admittedly, much sooner, but plot and convenience both intervened with that. The big, more important upgrades to the car we can't get until later on, because one of them is accessible the moment we get into chapter 9, because there is one point in chapter 9 where you can return back to the overworld if you wish to, but it makes no sense in the plot whatsoever. It doesn't work. It's just something that's there sort of thing. So I decided against doing it, so we won't be seeing the major upgrades in the car till post-game, unfortunately. Because it just doesn't make sense. Once you go on your journey to Altissia, going back here after going to Altissia just doesn't make sense in the plot. You wouldn't do that, so it is what it is. I believe this one just makes it so you burn through less fuel.
That's just what the rumors flowers say, among a bunch of other things. Still, in every room.
Do you ever feel like Cindy's really over-animated, like an anime girl? Like, she could just be standing there telling you, but no, she has to walk back and forth. Her entire body has to jig while she walks. She has to swing her arm left and right as she goes in. She has to lift up and put down and move it all around. And then it's nighttime, so all the lights come back on. But you see what I mean? Like, she's proper, like, overly animated. Proper anime-like. Look at that. What? No human being would move that much to just talk. Ever. But, whatever. But that's that done. The ever regal regalia. I think we end up chatting to a whole bunch now because all the other stuff that she wants we already have. So we have a chit chat for a while. I was tempted to skip through it, but I was like, no, it's side questing. It's something that we're gonna do eventually. I might as well just keep it in. So we're just gonna have Cindy chat to us for a while as she goes, okay, get this for me, but we already have it. Alright, sweet, let me use something with it. Okay, can you get this for me, but we already have it. So yeah, I'll shut up and let the rambling go on its own merit. Because it says like, head for the Baluv mines. We did the mines earlier. So alright, give Cindy the shard. Aye. So I'll shut up and just wait until a little later on.
Thanks for the help, Prince. Have y'all considered becoming hunters full-time? Let's see. This here's for paint. That one's going for treatment. Oh, shoot, I gotta phone Holly. Well, looks like another sleepless night.
Seriously?
Got a few folks waiting on repairs, so duty calls. Anywho, as promised, here's your reward. You can slap that decal right on the regalia. Try her out. Hey, Prince. Could I borrow you for a sec?
Let me guess. Another favor?
You're gonna ask me that every time, ain't ya? But as it were, I was hoping you might find something for me.
No problem. One of us will do anything for you.
And which of y'all would that be? Anywho, I need y'all to fetch me some fiberglass coating. I asked a hunter to bring some back, but wouldn't you know it, fella took a break somewhere and left it behind. Funny thing is, I ordered it with you boys in mind. If y'all go fetch it for me, I'll throw it on the regalia for you.
The place it wants us to go to now we're not doing until post-game, so yeah, that's another one that's an oops, sorry, not happening. So I have a look at what we've got. Install the wax so you can improve fuel efficiency. Ooh. Bit weird that wax is what makes fuel better, but whatever. I'm no car expert. But afterwards we take a rest, and then afterwards we're going up to the Vesperpool.
About how people viewed the Crown City from the outside.
Neither have I, but she said it's the place where legends were made. Goods produced in the Palace have yet to match that caliber, even after 30 years.
Pretty impressive. Who knew the hunters made deliveries?
In addition to kicking ass and keeping the peace. Well, with all their duties, it's no wonder they lose track.
And traveling around in the middle of the night can't be fun either.
I'm sure they have lights. I'm sure they could use artificial lights to stop the demons, because they just don't like light in general. It's something to do with just sunlight. It's just anything bright in general. Which means that as soon as the sun starts to rise, they probably find the nearest cave or tunnel to sit in. Which probably makes it really dangerous for like train tunnels or subways. Like any dark spot that doesn't have a light in it, demons are gonna huddle there eventually. Like you'd have to really keep on top of light control in tunnels and whatnot.
Hey, this one's pretty good.
I know. I dig it too.
At this point in the game, I start trying to rein in a little bit of how many photos I save, despite the fact once we go into chapter 9, the amount of photos you get for the opportunity to save lowers significantly. Anyway, this is a bit of a really sharp cut, but it's because I lost a little bit of footage and just decided to scrap that little bit altogether, because it was corrupt more than anything, and just scrapped it eventually until I went up to the
Can't
Vesperpool.
wait to try it.
And so you unfortunately missed that fight, but you didn't miss anything special. But up here, I'll say here's the Vesperpool, and if you go to the left side of it, there's this trailing path that kind of blurs a little that you can take. And yeah, I did get a chocobo again. Good old Choker Bro, he's level 5 now. As you can probably tell, I use him a lot off screen to get around easier. Because the Regalia's fast travel point is still a little ways away from this, so I just used the Regalia to the campsite parking spot, and then hopped on the Choker Bro to make the rest of the journey. Alright, calm down, Prompto. Immediately hits a fence. Gets all excited, hits a fence. That sign just warns you the Merlewood is up ahead.
I think they heard you.
I said, to be fair, we're running out of optional Royal Arms to get. It's this one and the Costelmark Towers one, and that's it. We've got all the optional Royal Arms, so all the ones afterwards are just the ones in the main game.
Huh. This sure looks like it leads somewhere.
It's practically inviting us inside.
You think there's
This dungeon, in reality, is actually pretty short, but you can end up taking a while because it's very open. Like, you go into this one big open space, and it's like you can go straight to the other end, onto the campsite, and then onto the boss, or you could explore the open space as much to your heart's desire. Thankfully, this one's a healthy level recommendation as well. This is one that you're likely to be at by the time you get to this point in the game. Like I said, the mines and Costelmark Tower are the only two that are a bit like, what the fuck sort of thing when you get to them. Oh. And the enemies here can be a little annoying because a lot of them have access to poison, because any swampy jungle environment has enemies that cast poison. That's like RPG 101 for some stupid reason. No, it makes sense. It's a swampy environment. It's murky. It's not pleasant, so it shouldn't be. But it is the open environment. It doesn't look so open, but you can kind of go any direction you feel like here, with a lot of loot surrounding the area.
The hunt is on. It's time.
And I kind of go for the cheap option there and just nuke them with ice. Because it hits them. I think it's either like quad or quintuple cast I've got. Also, we got the megaphone, which I believe is for Prompto. No, it's not. It's for Gladio. If I made the mistake when I recorded this and in post. And I think I finally go into the Ascension and give Gladio 2 accessory equips. So you can have the megaphone separately. Because it boosts the whole party's HP recovery, so it's really helpful for him to have. Even if it is Gladio specific. When I say that, I don't mind some equipment being member specific. Like, it's reminiscent to the good old days of Final Fantasy, where like certain weapons, certain armor, certain accessories, like certain everything was character specific. Like only certain characters could use it. Or like in Final Fantasy 1, 3, and 5's case, it was certain classes could use it. And for some reason I decided to use the Royal Shield a bit, because I'm aware that eventually we're going to reach a point where it sort of becomes unusable. There is a point in the game where we get a different Royal Arm. It's still not for a while, but because it's one of the plot ones, not one of the side ones. That when we get it, I just completely replace the shield for it, because I've always done that. Also, look, I get the summon chance come in as the enemies die, so we miss out on the summon there. But that's how summons work in the field. They kind of come in at complete random during a fight. And then if you wait long enough, it will come up saying the hold L2 to summon, and then it will summon any summon that works for the area. Like I said, if you're in the deserty environment to the right of the map, you can get Titan in, but anywhere otherwise you get Ramu, because they're the only two we have right now. This is just me scrounging and looking around for loot, see what we can find. We found a Mandrake flower, which is pretty good. Is a pretty good material for what it can make. But you should always take it as a given in any Final Fantasy game. If Drake or Dragon is used in any kind of resource, it's good. Even if it's like doesn't look like a dragon at all when you meet the enemies of the name. It is still something worth taking on board. If it has Drake or Dragon in the name, it's good. So we got the Merlewood this part. We got the entire next video is just Costelmark Tower. I made sure to get it all done in one part, and I think it's like a 50-minute video. Like there's a one section of it that I've decided to speed up when we get to it, because it's like the second half of the dungeon is doing the same thing over and over again until luck favors you. And so I show it once properly, and then the second time round, because you have to do it at least once, it's the second time onwards that you have a chance of it going right and you can get to the boss. I managed to get very lucky and get it on that second run. That's like this, so I get it on the minimal amount of runs, but that second run, it's because it's essentially just the first run again, with different variables and luck at play. I speed it up, so I think that'll knock it down to in the mid 40s in terms of video length. But we'll see when we get to it. I haven't finished editing that yet. I'm close, but I haven't finished. And there's a few other videos coming up that are also quite beefy. That I'm kind of looking forward to when we next have a video that's under half an hour, because this is like the last one for a little while. But these ones are so easy to edit when they're under half an hour. That I don't really know how to explain it, but it's just you feel it. When it's a longer video, even when you're editing it, you feel it, because there's so many more things you have to look out for and keep an eye on. And then because it's SHAREfactory, it has to be kept under an hour, thankfully. Like if we had a video that was over an hour long, I think I'd start to lose the will to live when it came to editing. But if I can get away with keeping it under half an hour, I will. Because like, for instance, like, there's no way in this God's Green Earth I was going to do Costamark and this in one part. That's why Costamark's next part. Then the part afterwards we do the fortress that's on the right side of the map, the only one that's left. And then we do a bit of cleanup at Cape Cairn, like showing some of the other stuff we can do. I introduce a bit more of upgrading with Sid and show where some of the better equipment is, so you know what to do with it. But we don't linger around, because with some of Sid's equipment, once he starts upgrading it, he has to take time to do it, and it's like 2 to 3 in-game days for some of it, and I just decided it's not worth the time waste to do it. So I show where it is to do it. So once you've got the stuff, which we'll be finding in the post-game anyway, once you have the stuff, you can just go do it. But then afterwards we move on. So we won't be leaving with Ultimate Weapon like I originally planned to, because I was like, essentially I just forgot that Sid takes an eternity to repair stuff, and I was like, no, it's not worth the time wasting to do it. If I'd remembered from beforehand, I would have set it up much earlier on, so it's all done by the time we get there, and it's a lot easier to get Ultimate Weapon ready. But unfortunately I didn't have that foresight, so we miss it. Also, there's a fishing spot here if you want it. I say it's a pretty good one, this one. It's not the best one. Like I said, the best one most of the time is the Vesperpool, until you want to get the best fish, which is once you max out your stat, go down the Golden Key. But this one is pretty good. Like, you can get some pretty exotic rare fish here, so make the most of it if you choose to. I decided against it because I've already shown off enough fishing. So I just camp here and move on, since it's already evening.
Shall we rest?
But as you can tell by the length of this video and how far we are into it, this dungeon's not that long. It's one of the shorter Royal Tomb dungeons in the game, and it's just because we've already been through the biggest meat of it. That big open space is the whole theme of the dungeon, of that big open space, move on when you're ready. Because when you look at the actual map of the dungeon that you see from this picture, we literally went through a small tunnel, did the open space, another tunnel, we're here. It's really an underwhelming dungeon, really. For how late into the game you have to get get access to it, it's kind of like, because given you have to beat Chapter 7 before you can go into it properly. You have to be in Chapter 8. And for a game that's 14 chapters long, yeah, you have to be that's quite considerable distance into the game. Well, technically it's 15 chapters, but 15 chapters is the post-game chapter. So, take that for what it is. God, that's a nice picture. That was during one of the off-screen fights, that one. So, right, that one, yeah, there's a story behind that enemy. The reason why I ended up taking a picture of it is because it glitched out. And I wish I still had the footage for it, but I don't. It glitched out, essentially. What happened was, I knocked it down, and it came up saying the warp strike into it to do the cross chain. I warp striked into it, the cross chain didn't start. And it came up saying objective complete. It gave me the AP for it. Yet it didn't start. What happened from there? The enemy, it didn't let me lock onto it anymore. It was stuck vulnerable and wouldn't move. And all of my teammates became, the AI essentially turned off. They just stood still. And this continued until I manually killed the enemy, which was really annoying because once again, no lock on. So it'd lock onto everything. So I kept on positioning myself behind it in line of another enemy, and then swinging until the thing eventually went down. Which, yeah, like I said, was pretty annoying. Like, once it was done, it was fine. Well, sorry, Gladio, I started up the Tempest and then you went into my way. But I said that fight ended up taking an eternity, and it was just as that. But once we beat it, that's when I realised something was wrong with the recording, reset it, and then continued and finished up the rest of that encounter after he had died.
Let's go. Yep.
Also, the setup we have right now with weaponry is kind of similar to what we're going to have for the rest of the game, which is a normal sword, a broadsword, a royal arm, and then something magical. In Costelmark, I changed it up a little bit because, slight spoilers before how I'm going to play it, we're not going to be using Noctis for most of it. We're going to be using our teammates for it. And since when Noctis is not in your control, he doesn't take damage from using royal arms, I decided to give him 2 royal arms. So then when he uses them, he doesn't take any damage, but then if I need to swap to him, I've still got access to weapons that won't hurt me. But this is a wasted cross-chain. I think I can't remember if I cancel out of it deliberately or just play it out. Oh no, I play it out, it seems. For some ludicrous reason, as we get 600, 900% damage. But would you believe me if I said they've nerfed cross-chains from Episode to Sky? Like the original alpha from way back when. Because it really doesn't feel nerfed. It feels overpowered as shit. You just can't do it on anything now. But we got a gold bangle, so we can boost our health even more. So then the pattern is, the first one goes on Noctis, and then the second one goes on Prompto. But as we head down here, there's the Royal Tomb. I can't remember our boss fight for this area. It's a Trent. Oh, okay. Or Treant, depending on your preference. Trents in older Final Fantasy games were a lot more threatening than they are nowadays, but he is still a little bit of a threat if you're not careful because he can poison you. And that was kind of what made them so devastating before, is that they were so effective at poisoning you. Anyway, the Trent is level 38 with 71,000 HP, a strength stat of 7,160, so it hits pretty sizably, vitality of 219, spirit of 166, has a 20% weakness to great swords and fire with a resistance to lightning and light. The main strategy you'll be working with here is that every part of its body you break reduces its defense by 15%. So you can, and it has 3 parts, a head piece, a body piece and a tail piece. You break all 3, you've lowered its defense by 45%. It is resistant but not immune to any kind of instant kill. And that's pretty much it really. It's a pretty easy boss and it died as I finished my stat read. So if you use great swords and or fire, the fight will fall apart. Or if you can break its body parts, because like I said, it lowers its defense by 15% a piece, and there's 3 pieces to work with.
I wonder how many more remain.
I like it says, I wonder how many more remain, but if you bring up the pause menu, the game says there's 13. But this is the Rogue, which I believe is the Shurikens. Which are badass for ranged combat whilst doing a lot of damage, because you just launch them and then it reappears in your hand once it hit. But look at the thing. It's the giant shuriken. What more do you want? I know this one's a bit of a favourite for some people as well. It's not my favourite and I won't be using it that much, but it is pretty damn good. Let's look at our collection now. As we get our 9th Royal Arm. Only 4 more to go. And that's all our main journey for the next part. We're going to be leaving here, and then we're going to start working towards Costelmark, and we're going to rest at the campfire closest to it. So at the start of next part, we just continue where we left off, sort of thing. Which you're going to see here. I'm going to return to entrance, and then we're going to cut into the car journey on the way there. Which is raining a little as well. So I was listening to Final Fantasy XIV music by the sounds of it for a second. Which reminds me, I should really, it's not like I pay for the subscription for that. I should probably play it a bit more often than I do. But over here is the Fall Grove, which is the area surrounding Costelmark Tower. When you approach it, as you can see off in the distance, it doesn't really look like a tower. It looks a bit broken away. It's because it's like a reverse tower. It's a tower that keeps on going into the ground, that digs in. I don't know if you've ever played a game or experienced a reverse tower, but it's literally just a structure that keeps on going down beneath the ground. So we'll be going very many miles into the ground as we do this. But that being said, that's next time. So next time we're finally tackling the dreaded Costelmark Tower, which has a level recommendation of level 55, which is higher than the final boss of the game. So we'll be tackling it extremely underleveled, and if you don't care for getting all the royal arms now, don't bother doing it until post game. I really recommend not bothering doing it until post game because it's not worth the hassle. But all that being said, I'll see you next time as we tackle the entirety of Costelmark Tower, and I probably lose a few grey hairs as we go. But until then, you guys take care now.